Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. And Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Paramahansa Ashtottara to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paramahansa Ashtottara to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 14th day of May, 2024, in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 7, entitled Knowledge of the Absolute, page 334, text 24. Avyaktam vyaktim apannam avyaktam vyaktim apannam manyante mam abuddhayah manyante mam abuddhayah param bhavam ajananto param bhavam ajananto. Hold on, page 334. Mamavyayam anuttamam mamavyayam anuttamam avyaktam vyaktamapannam manyante mam abuddhayah param bhavam jananto mamavyayam anuttamam avyaktam vyaktamapannam manyante mam abuddhayah param bhavam jananto mamavyayam anuttamam avyaktam vyaktamapannam manyante mam abuddhayah param bhavam jananto mamavyayam anuttamam. Go ahead. Avyaktam vyaktamapannam manyante mam abuddhayah param bhavam jananto mamavyayam anuttamam. Avyaktam vyaktamapannam manyante mam abuddhayah param bhavam jananto mamavyayam anuttamam. Would you like to try? Not yet. Okay. Anyone online? Tapas, I know you're out there. Maybe not. Avyaktam, non-manifested. Vyaktim, personality. Apannam, achieved. Manyante, think. Mam, me. Abuddhayah, less intelligent persons. Param, supreme. Bhavam, existence. Ajanantaha, without knowing. Mama, my. Abhyayam, imperishable. Anuttamam, the finest. Translation. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. Purport. Those who are worshippers of demigods have been described as less intelligent persons, and here the impersonalists are similarly described. Lord Krishna in his personal form is here speaking before Arjuna, and still, due to ignorance, impersonalists argue that the Supreme Lord ultimately has no form. Yamunacharya, a great devotee of the Lord in the disciplic succession of Ramanujacharya, has written a very appropriate verse in this connection. He says, Tvam Shila Rupa Chaditai Padama Prakrishtai Satvena Satvakitaya Prabalaischa Shastrai Prakriyata Daiva Padamata Vidam Mataischa Naiva Sodar Prakritiha Prabhavanti Bodhum. My dear Lord, devotees like Vyasadeva and Narada know you to be the personality of Godhead. By understanding different Vedic literatures, one can come to know your characteristics, your form, and your activities, and one can thus understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, the demons, the non-devotees, cannot understand you. They are unable to understand you. However expert such non-devotees may be in discussing Vedanta and the Upanishads and other Vedic literatures, it is not possible for them to understand the personality of Godhead. Stotra Ratna 12. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the personality of Godhead cannot be understood simply by study of the Vedanta literature. Only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord can the personality of the Supreme be known. Therefore, in this verse, it is clearly stated that not only are the worshippers of the demigods less intelligent, but those non-devotees who are engaged in Vedanta and speculation on Vedic literature without any tinge of true Krishna consciousness are also less intelligent. And for them, it is not possible to understand God's personal nature. Persons who are under the impression that the Absolute Truth is impersonal are described as abuddhaya, which means those who do not know the ultimate feature of the Absolute Truth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that supreme realization begins from the impersonal Brahman and then rises to the localized Supersoul. But the ultimate word in the Absolute Truth is the personality of Godhead. Modern impersonalists are still less intelligent, for they do not even follow their great predecessor Shankaracharya, who has specifically stated that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonalists, therefore, not knowing the Supreme Truth, think Krishna to be only the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, or a prince or a powerful living entity. This is also condemned in the Bhagavad Gita 9:11, Avadananti mamudha manushim tanam ashritam. Only the fools regard me as an ordinary person. The fact is that no one can understand Krishna without rendering devotional service and without developing Krishna consciousness. The Bhagavatam 10:14-29 confirms this. Atapite deva padambajadvaya prasadaleshanugaita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya eko picharam bichinvan. So this is Lord Brahma speaking. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. Close quote. One cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or his form, qualities, or name simply by mental speculation or by discussing Vedic literature. One must understand him by devotional service. When one is fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, beginning by chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then only can one understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Non-devotee impersonalists think that Krishna has a body made of this material nature, and that all his activities, his form, and everything are Maya. These impersonalists are known as Mayavadis. They do not know the ultimate truth. The 20th verse, let's go back to the 20th verse. See what Prabhupada is referring to here. Kamais taistai ritigana. This one describes how those whose intelligence is stolen by material desires, they worship the demigods. The 20th verse clearly states, Kamais taistai ritigana bhadyante anya devata. Those who are blinded by lusty desires surrender unto the different demigods. Close quote. It is accepted that besides the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are demigods who have their different planets, and the Lord also has a planet. As stated in the 23rd verse, Devan Devi Ajo Yanti Mudbhakta Yanti Mamapi. The worshippers of the demigods go to the different planets of the demigods, and those who are devotees of Lord Krishna go to the Krishna Loka planet. Although this is clearly stated, the foolish impersonalists still maintain that the Lord is formless, and that these forms are impositions. From the study of the Gita, does it appear that the demigods and their abodes are impersonal? Clearly, neither the demigods nor Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are impersonal. They are all persons. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has his own planet, and the demigods have theirs. Therefore, the monistic contention that ultimate truth is formless and that form is imposed does not hold true. It is clearly stated here that it is not imposed. From the Bhagavad Gita, we can clearly understand that the forms of the demigods and the form of the Supreme Lord are simultaneously existing. and that Lord Krishna is Satchidananda, eternal blissful knowledge. The Vedic literature confirms that the Supreme Absolute Truth is knowledge and blissful pleasure. Vijnanam Anandam Brahma, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 3.9.28. And that he is the reservoir of unlimited auspicious qualities. Ananta Kalyana Gunatmako Sao, Vishnu Purana 6.5.84. And in the Gita, the Lord says that although he is Aja, unborn, he still appears. These are the facts that we should understand from the Bhagavad Gita. We cannot understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be impersonal. The imposition theory of the impersonalist monist is false as far as the statements of the Gita are concerned. It is clear herein that the Supreme Absolute Truth, Lord Krishna, has both form and personality. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. Oh, please don't put it on the seat where we sit. So, I'm sorry? Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. So, Antavatu Palam Tesham. Oh no, that one we read. This is 24 of Vyaktam Vyaktam that there's a constant struggle it's reflected in Prabhupada's books between the devotees, the Vaishnavas, and the impersonalists. There's different classes of people who understand God in various ways. There's also many people who don't believe in God. They don't think they have any faith. But those who understand that there's a transcendental world, that we're spiritual, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be bhaktas. Because there's a large number of, there's a whole school of thought that the ultimate reality is this undifferentiated Brahman, or pure spirit, the white light. And indeed, that's spoken of in the Bhagavatam as part of the reality of the Absolute Truth. It is said, Padanti tattva vidas tattvam yajnanamadvayam brahmeti padamatmeti bhagavaniti shabdite. So those who know the truth, the tattva vidas, you see, those literally means those who know the truth. They say that the Absolute Truth exists in three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So what are those, and how do they pertain to us? So they're progressive understandings. Brahman is undifferentiated. When we offer Srila Prabhupada pranams or we sing his pranam mantra, he refers to that. Nirvishesha shunyavadi paschata desha tarine. That's the second line, right? So Srila Prabhupada, representing all of his four previous acharyas, his spiritual master Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and on all the way back to Krishna, he is teaching us, gave us and has given us the ultimate Vedic literature, the Srimad Bhagavad Purana, which was the last work of Vyasadeva. Right? Vyasadeva is the author of all of these Vedic literature, the Upanishads, the Puranas, the Mahabharata. He didn't write the Ramayana, but that's still authoritative. And after he'd written them all, he was still dissatisfied. This is spoken, very, very interesting in the 5th chapter of the 1st canto, how the Bhagavatam came to be written. So he wrote all these, and he thought he was done, but somehow he was dissatisfied. Why? Because his spiritual master, Narada Muni, came down and explained to him, because you haven't written anything that wholly and solely glorifies the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the process of knowing Him, which is Bhakti Yoga, and the glories of the devotees as well. That's appeared in other books. This we're reading Bhagavad Gita. That's in the Mahabharata. But there's all kinds of other stuff in the Mahabharata that doesn't exactly pertain to that. And the Bhagavad Gita is more or less the ABCs of spiritual life. So surrendering to Narada Muni's judgment, Narada Muni, he directed him, now you meditate, because you're a devotee, you meditate on Krishna, and everything will be revealed. And so he did, and it's described in the 7th chapter, 1st canto, I think. Bhakti yogena manasi samyag pranidite yamalaya pashat purusam purnam mayam chadapashayam. And in his meditation, he saw the personality of God at Krishna, and behind him, under control, Maya, the Maya energy, the illusory energy. So the next verse describes what is that effect of the Maya energy on the living entities. Yaya sammohito jiva atmanam chiganatmakam parobimanate nartam tatkripam chavipadyate. Yaya means by that Maya energy, sammohito. The living entities in this world, in the material world, are completely bewildered. Some mohito. Mohita means bewildered, some mohito means completely bewildered. Like you have kirtan and then you have sankirtan, right? San, in complete kirtan. Welcome. Yeah, welcome. So, Atmanam Trigunatmakam, although we are spiritual and we are transcendental to the modes of nature, because we're minute and we're not Krishna conscious, we identify ourselves with the material body which is controlled by these modes of nature. Anartam, and therefore we experience anartas, chief of which is birth, old age, disease, and death, which takes place because we are in a body, we're identifying with the body. See, and that's right. So, but then he says, Anatopashamam sachat bhakti yogam and hokshache. Now here's this word at hoksha again. I keep explaining this. This is a name for Krishna that's often used at the beginning of one's quest for enlightenment. In other words, on the Bhakti Marg path, this is the first understanding of God that anyone can accept, which is that we can't see Him. I don't see God, pure spirit. I can only see matter, see? So adhokshaja is composed of these 3 Sanskrit words, adha, aksha, and ja. Ja is short for janma, which means birth. So the akshaja is knowledge born from our use of the senses. In other words, material knowledge. What's called inductive knowledge. You gather evidence, you make a theory, you test it, and I'll come to a conclusion. Okay, water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. Now we've got something, you see, and you build up that. So that's material knowledge. You cannot reach the transcendence through that because you cannot perceive. That's the whole idea. You cannot perceive what's transcendental to your senses and mind, and that's Krishna. So that's a name for Krishna. He who defeats all efforts to know Him by the material process of investigation. So how can we know Him? He has to reveal Himself. He has to reveal Himself. And why would He reveal Himself? When He's pleased with us. And that's the significance of this verse quoted in the purport. Atapite deva patambo javdi. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, which you can get by service, by glorification, by practicing bhakti, then you get and get prasada lesha, and get even a little touch of your prasad, of your grace. You're pleased to some degree. Janati tattvam, one can understand you in truth. Prabhupada gives the example of like some big person, say a president. You can't just go to the White House and knock on the door and say, can I have an interview? You'll get arrested, even if you walk on the lawn, right? But if you happen to be the friend of one of his relatives, you see, then there's a personal relationship. Okay, come on, we'll invite him to lunch, and you can meet the president. Something like that, right? In other words, someone who's very powerful, he can control who gets to understand him, who gets to meet him. So who can be more powerful than God? God is the most powerful. And He reserves the right to keep hidden, except for those who are true bhaktas, who are sold out, who are in love with Him and are willing to serve Him in their constitutional position. That's the whole idea of bhakti. Then He reveals. And what does Krishna say in the 18th chapter? The same thing. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanishtasmi tattvataha. I can be known in truth. This word tattva is very important. By those who are bhaktas. Bhaktas means those who are practicing the principles of devotional service. Yeah, and one who knows me in truth, yavanishtasmi tattva Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanjastami tato mam tatato gyatva vishate tadanantaram. And knowing me in truth, ultimately one will come back to me in the spiritual world. So the whole Bhagavad Gita brings one to the conclusion that bhakti, the process of bhakti yoga, which is feasible in this age, especially because of Lord Chaitanya, and making it very easy by the chanting, which is such a powerful mantra, that can give us the perfection of life, which can't be anything material, because anything material, okay, I'm going to rise to this position, I'm going to get so much money, I'll have to... No, that's all temporary. It's very fleeting. You know, when you get to be my age, you can see how short life really is. I'm 76 now. You know, I know I don't have so many more years in this body, right? But it says, wow, that's it, you know? Admittedly, in Krishna consciousness, time actually speeds up a little. Anyway, it seems to speed up. And also when you get older, it definitely speeds up. But the point is that anything that you value that's material, beginning with our own body and relationship to the body and many pleasures that you may have or memories or anything, all that is like going to be destroyed. In your next life, this is our next life from the previous life. Can anyone remember all those details of the previous life? We may have been human beings, had a whole history, you know, we may have been mothers or fathers. I could have been a mother, you know, and children, and all those relationships, the things we put so much value on, which make life worth living, you know, but it's all gone. So is life just a tragedy? We come from who knows what, we're now temporarily here, and then we merge into annihilation and there's nothing else? No, not according to Bhagavad Gita. And I wanted to stress that point, because it comes up in the Bhagavad Gita at the end of the 16th chapter. And that is, we have to have faith. The beginning of bhakti, of any endeavor really, is faith. Suppose, forget transcendental subject matters and for a moment. Any field of endeavor that you have. You want to be, you know, you want to get a degree, you know, and you're now a junior in high school, right? I remember that was the big year. You're applying to all these schools, taking the SAT tests and everything. So what's the premise of all this? That if I can get in a good school and get a good education, I'll have a successful life. At least that's a prerequisite for any successful life. And that's taught to us by our teachers and our parents, and everyone's rooting for you. And it's a given. That's faith. You have faith that a good college education will help me in my life's mission, so I better get it, you know, like that. So you work hard toward that, you know, to try to get that. So the point is that, and it's true of any endeavor, is that you have to have faith, and you need to acquire a certain amount of knowledge in order to go along a certain path to achieve a goal. But if those goals are material, then ultimately you're going to be disappointed. Because just by the passage of time, this is not rocket science, it's just life, you know, which we have to kind of forget in order to really try very hard in the material sphere. But once you learn, if you have, and so what's the basis of our faith that we've been following this? Many people, I think we're totally nuts. You know, we go out on the street and dancing and chanting. It's crazy, Hare Krishnas, haven't they? They're from the 60s. What are they still, you know, brainwashed? Let me go about my business, right? Probably a lot of that. Although I think some people are intrigued. Wow, they're still going after all these years? I remember in the 60s. Wasn't George Harrison into that? This goes with. Anyway, but it's much deeper than that. So what is the basis of our faith? To take up this chanting and this lifestyle, which is austere, you're giving up so many material things, you know. Well, one of the faith relies on different things. First of all, the source that you get the knowledge from. You become exposed to a devotee, to a book, to an experience, whatever, a festival, you know, whatever. And there's something that strikes you as intriguing that you want to further investigate. You're not put off by all of the strangeness, and you know, it's not what you expect. But you're kind of searching. Oftentimes it happens that, you know, you're dissatisfied with something in your life, you know, Or you think that this could be intriguing because I heard about it, whatever it may be. But it brings you into contact with the books or with the chanting or with the devotees or whatever. And ideally, that there'll be something there that will cause you to proceed with that investigation. That's what it was with me. And if you have enough interest or curiosity to take up the chanting, even just on, well, let me try it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. There's going to be an effect. The more that you are receptive to hearing with concentration and taking it in, there'll be an effect. And the effect may be making you more peaceful, and you can kind of forget your troubles, or it gives you a little, contact high, or whatever you want to call it. There's something there. There's something there. And so, if you investigate this, you'll see that there's a big tradition behind it. And there's a series of realized souls. This was how the movement grew when Prabhupada came, because of Prabhupada. Because of his personal demeanor, because of his obvious bliss and his knowledge and his willingness to undertake this practically mission impossible of carrying this tradition and this yoga process from India, where it's well known, to the land of America, where no one knew anything. He was relying completely on Krishna, on the mercy of the Lord, the empowerment. And it wasn't all easy. It was very difficult in some places. So what did he know? Why did he do that? He didn't do it for money, obviously. He came with 7 rupees, which wasn't even $3 at that time, whatever it was, which was he basically was broke because the currency was not changeable into dollars. So he relied on some friends, and Krishna guided him here and there, and eventually he was able to find a fertile ground for planting the seed and getting some meaningful response in 1965, 66, and everything else followed after that. So the point is, he was part of a whole line of realized souls who demonstrated these qualities of joy, of enthusiasm, of peacefulness. And these are external things that we can see someone spiritually evolved has. And when we read the books and we investigate, we see that there's a whole line of realized souls. And like, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was a professional. He had like 12 or 13 children, one of whom became Srila Prabhupada's eventual guru, spiritual master. And although he was a magistrate, he was actually a judge in the British government, which was ruling India at the time. He found time to write many, many books on devotional service and not excavate as we know it, but to find the actual place where Lord Chaitanya appeared in Mayapur, and he did a tremendous amount of service. It really saved the Gaudiya Vaishnava Bhakti from some confusion that had developed in the 17th, 18th century. So what I'm trying to get at is that these books that we're reading and the mantra we're chanting and the lifestyle we're leading, it all has a foundation that goes back thousands of years. And the basic idea is that we have to ask a question. To really lead a meaningful human life, we need to ask some questions. And the first question is, who am I really? What am I as a human being? Am I this body, or am I something else? And the first answer that Krishna gives is, no, you're not the body. You're the soul within the body, the consciousness, irreducible consciousness. It's kind of the best news you could get in one sense. You don't die. Death is of the body. It's no more meaningful ultimately, and Krishna gives this analogy of taking off an old coat. This is fairly new, so I'm not going to discard it now. But, eventually something wears out, and you give it up, and you get a new one. No big deal, right? But it's basically, eventually the body wears out, you give it up, and you get a new one. Reincarnation, transmigration of the soul. This is the first thing. And you know, amazingly, when I was joined the movement in the 70s, they were just starting to hear about these near-death experiences, and this fellow named Ian Stevenson, who was a professor of psychology at some southern university in America. And he got it in his head that, is there really reincarnation? And he heard, and to this day it's going on, somehow it's more in India than anywhere else, but it can be anywhere. Children, sometimes children, when they're growing up, they say things like, "You're not my real mother. I lived over in that village over there, you know, maybe 70 miles away, you know, and this was the name of my mother, or this, I was the mother," or, you know, all this stuff, you know. And so he investigated. He went to India, and he found, there's one article written by Dravida Dasa Brahmachari back in the 70s, based on one of these cases. And I'll bring it, you know, one of these days. I have it at home. And it simply related, yes, here was this little girl who, when, you know, she first began to speak and be, you know, articulate, she was describing this life before. So he interviewed them, and he got translation, and he said, okay, she's saying that in this village named this, there was this person, and then I was the, you know, all these details. Okay, he went to the village, and sure enough, it was all confirmed. You know, there are cases like that. So then how can it be explained? Well, you know, maybe the parents got in and did that. You know, he tracked out all the other things, and the only thing that made sense, it's for real. The person actually lived a previous life. And that's the first teaching of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. And if you believe that, then your orientation about what to strive for in life and what the meaning of life is changes completely. Because you realize that, and it's not long before you hear it in this book, that the mission of life is to break out of this syndrome or this cycle of birth, and it can be in any species, but we'll stick with human beings. Birth, growth, old age, disease, and death. Because even though we're not the body, we go through that experience, and it's very painful. And then you're getting another birth. And there's karma. Karma, if there's going to be karma, there needs to be someone who's meting out the karma, because it's a system of justice. If you're a vicious person, you're a murderer, you know, or a thief or anything, you're hard-hearted, you know, then you're going to perform activities that are going to violate the law of karma, if you will, and you'll be punished for that. You may lose the human form of life. Human form of life is the pinnacle of evolution. It's not that the body evolves, but the soul, the consciousness evolves. So here we are sitting here as human beings with intelligence to contemplate these questions. If we were dogs and cats, it doesn't mean anything. We just, you know, engaged in like finding something to eat, finding somewhere to mate, you know, and defend any attacks. And when after all of this becomes tiring, we sleep. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. We do that also. But if that's all we do, maybe in a polished way, then we're no better than the animals. What distinguishes human life from animal life? Dharma. This very important word, dharma, often translated as religion, but has an element of being the essential nature of something. Like I like to point out these chairs. We recently got a new generation of chairs, right? Better chairs. We had these plastic chairs. These are a little better. Why? Because the plastic chairs would gradually die, right? They would break. They were, you know, after some time, you just plop down in them or whatever. So the chair would stop meeting its dharma. It wouldn't hold up a person. You'd sit in it and it would collapse. An adharmic chair, you know. So a chair has a certain dharma, a roof has a dharma, all these things have a dharma. And human beings have a dharma. Living entities have a dharma. And that dharma is to serve. We're serving the demands of the body. Who can deny it? You get hungry, you have to eat. You call on nature, you got to serve that, right? And also on a subtle level, you develop certain ideas, right? You're convinced of something. It could be some conspiracy theory, right, or something like that. And then you're convinced of it, and then you serve it. You know, you respond to it, and you're part of it. So we're serving all the time. But where is that service that we can perform that can help us to get out of the syndrome of birth, old age, disease, and death? And that's the service to the soul and to the super soul. This is described at the beginning of Bhagavatam. Savapang sang paro dharma yato bhakti hokshaje ahaitukya patayataya masuprasiditi. There's that word hokshaje again. That supreme dharma, or we call it religion, process, is that which engenders the sense of service to hokshaje, to God. That can fully satisfy the soul. That's what we've lost. We're exiles here. Just like it says, we're fallen souls. Isn't it say that in the Bible? Like, we lost the Eden, isn't it? Something like that, isn't it? But the point is, we don't belong in this world of birth, old age, disease, and death. And the other part of it is threefold miseries. I don't mean to be a complete downer, but the whole idea of bhakti is that you can escape this world. You can get out of this threefold miseries. The miseries caused by one's own body and mind. Think of PTSD. If you happen to have been through a traumatic experience of some kind, then it probably, if it's really bad, it'll stay with you. You can't just forget it. That's, and your own mind is giving you trouble. Or you have some congenital disease, that you're born with, and that's just bad karma. You got to live with it. You may be a cripple or whatever, a million different things. So that's what it means to have a material body. You're still serving. Certainly, this pandemic, right? There are lessons to be learned. There's always a lesson you can learn. Yeah, who wants to think about it? Don't worry, I won't go there too much. But that's exactly, no. Are you kidding me? My breath, I won't be able to breathe? Something we take for granted all this time. And this disease, if I hang out with the wrong person, suddenly, we had a devotee, a long-time devotee here. And he followed some bad advice. He didn't get a vaccine. And he passed away. And it was painful to watch. Madhusudan. He died. I don't know if you knew him. But he was he joined in 1966. He was an old devotee. His wife is still here, and his daughter, they come. They come on Sundays, we see them. Very nice devotee. That beautiful sculpture there, she designed. She's an artist. She didn't actually do the sculpture, but she designed the whole thing, and then we sent it to India, and it was sculpted and brought here. This is Garuda. He's the protector of the Dham, and he's carrier of Krishna. We didn't have that for years. We had a big portrait of Prabhupada. So anyway, what I'm getting at is that these words that Krishna is speaking here, as devotees, we take them as, yes, these are the words of God. And if we follow its instructions, we ultimately will come to the essence of the Gita is 2 verses in the 18th chapter. I'll give them to you. He says, Manmana bhavamad bhakto marjaji mam namaskuru mame vaishasi satyam te patijane priyosi me sarva dharmam parityajya mame kam sharanam braja aham tvam sava papebhyo mokshayasyami mashaja. Which mean in English, just think of me, become devoted, worship me, and bow down low. You'll come to me, O friend, I promise you this boon I shall bestow. Give up all other dharmas and surrender only unto me. Your sins I'll nullify, O Arjuna, from anxiety be free. Now, if you stay for the kirtan, which we'll have in less than 20 minutes, you can see the deities there of Radha and Giridhari. Krishna, Giridhari is a name for Krishna, means he who held up a hill to protect his friends and cows for a week. This whole Dham is named after him, New Govardhan. So you see there's Radharani, she's the lady on Krishna's left, and she has this mudra, she's going like this, you see. This is a mudra, we use mudras all the time, these are expressions. Like, really? You know, this is a mudra. Or how about this one? That's a mudra, you know. Or this is a mudra, yeah. But this is another mudra. And this means Abhay Dhan, which means the gift of fearlessness. Radharani is assuring us, you just chant Hare Krishna.
Wow.
And
I was doing that on the car ride.
No kidding.
And I wasn't sure why I was doing it, but I saw myself doing it.
Okay, now when you see Radharani, you can feel she's giving you fearlessness. You say, you just chant Hare Krishna and everything will be all right. Okay? So Krishna is inviting us, and this whole thing, you know, he's the only deity who is just playing. I mean, he's standing there, you know, about to play the flute, or just having played the flute, you know, he's playing the flute. And you read about his Leela, he's dancing and he's playing with his friends and the gopis and the cows, you know. That's what it is in the spiritual world, eternally. Every day is fresh, you know. And those loving exchanges with Krishna are completely fulfilling. And there's no downside. Just like any pleasure you have, there's always a letdown when it ends, right? My favorite verse. It's Yehi Sangsparshija Bhoga. Welcome, Hare Krishna. Here, this side over here. We are on page 334. And so where was I? I think I was explaining those verses. Oh yes, the mudras, of course. So the Krishna's whole life is Leela. The Leela means he's always playing.
Yeah.
What, is that your name?
No, but I know a girl named Lila that I met recently.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's close enough.
It's play.
No kidding.
Doesn't it?
Leela means play, yeah.
It's not the same thing?
Well, I don't know what Lila means, but it's close enough. L-I-L-A. Well, yeah. We pronounce it Leela, she pronounces it Lila. So anyway, the point is that just imagine a life that, you know, every day is a new adventure. You don't get old. And you're playing with Krishna, who's the ocean of beauty and love and knowledge, and he has unlimited capacity for relationships, personal relationship. Usually, you know, you meet someone wonderful, you said, yeah, but he has so many friends already, you know. But no, Krishna, because he's God, he can have a personal relationship with all of us, and we have that relationship, but we've forgotten it. So Krishna consciousness is a process, very practical. It starts from where you're at, you know, because in the last chapter, Krishna described this yoga system where the first thing you have to do is go off and be alone, you know, and sit this way. You can't sit this way, you have to sit this way. And look, and it's not the tip of the nose. It's where the nose begins, which is up here, between the eyebrows. But even that, have you ever tried it? It's cross-eyed. But that's what you have to do if you're going to progress. You know. So Arjuna says, no, I can't do it. Arjuna is, you know, it's very qualified. Says it's impossible. Because the whole idea is to try to control the mind, you know, without the chanting, without the deities, without the prasadam, without the devotees, just allow you and the mind wrestle with it. You ever tried it? You know. So Arjuna says, Chanchalami mana Krishna pramadi. Says this mind is very flickering, it's very powerful. And to control it, I think, is like trying to control the wind. I remember I lived in Miami for 6 years. And even if it wasn't a hurricane, it was like a near hurricane. And sometimes the wind blows, you know, you can't control the wind. So he's very pessimistic that he can follow. So finally Krishna says, don't worry, you don't have to follow it. The verse just before this chapter, he says, who is the best yogi? You have to be a yogi, Arjuna. But don't worry, you don't have to be an Ashtanga yogi, a meditative yogi. Yogi nama visarvesham, madgatein antaratmana, Shraddhavam bhajate mam samayukta momata. Again, the word Shraddha means faith. The best yogi is one who is always thinking of me with great transcendental faith. You see, yogi nama, thinking me within. Madgatein antaratmana, Shraddhavan bhajate mam. This word bhajate is essential. That's the root of the word bhakti. Bhakti means an exchange, a relationship. It's not just a one-way thing that you have to serve some big person in the sky who doesn't even know who you are. No, he knows who you are. He's God. He can relate to you exactly as you relate to him, he says in the Bhagavad Gita. Infinite jivas he can relate to. So, that's the end of the last chapter, and it begins this chapter, and it's very practical how we can begin devotional service and eventually come to the point of this, these two verses. Think of me, become devoted, worship me, and bow down low. You come to me, your friend, I promise you this boon I shall bestow. Give up all other dharmas and surrender only unto me. Your sins I'll nullify, O Arjuna, from anxiety be free. So the whole Bhagavad Gita culminates in that, and that's the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the surrender to Krishna, and it takes us to different realms and descriptions of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, his avatars, his devotees, how this world came to be, great detail. It's the crown jewel of all Vedic literature is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srila Prabhupada worked really hard to give us that, and he wasn't able to finish it, and I was able to help finishing that Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're going to keep exploring this 7th chapter. You're all invited. And Krishna will ultimately describe how one whose sins are finished, persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. And what's the benefit? Jara marana moksha. You become free from old age, disease, and death, and attain our eternal, youthful form, and go back to Godhead. Any questions or comments? Okay, we have time for a few poems. Now, there's one poem that Lord Chaitanya wrote. He wrote Shikshashtaka. Actually, it wasn't written as a separate poem. He wrote these verses at different times, and they were collected in the Shikshashtaka, which is foundational for understanding this Krishna consciousness movement. And it's all about the chanting and the result of chanting. So the first verse describes the benefit of chanting this mantra. And the thing is, it's not just theoretical. If you do it, you actually experience it. So he says, Cheto darpana marjanam bhavamahada vagni nirvapanam Shreya kaidava chandika vatadanam vidyavadhu jivanam Anandam buddhivardhanam patibadam purnamita swadanam sarvatmasna param param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to the chanting of Sri Krishna's holy names, which easily extinguishes samsara's blazing flames by polishing the lust-encrusted mirror of the heart. That chanting is the waxing moon that knows the secret art of causing the white lotus of good fortune to unfurl its petals far and wide throughout this bleak and blighted world. Of transcendental knowledge which will take us to life's goal, the chanting of the name of Krishna is the life and soul. The ocean of ecstatic bliss floods far beyond its bounds wherever Krishna's merciful and mystic name resounds. Indeed, whenever Krishna's names are sung in congregation, at every step one tastes a joy that knows no limitation. So hear with great attention as I earnestly request, please chant Sri Krishna's holy names and be supremely blessed. The soothing nectar of the names will bathe your consciousness, bestow pure love for Krishna, and eradicate distress. And then Lord Chaitanya takes the role of an ordinary person who hasn't developed any taste for chanting. Nam namakadi bahudani sarva shaktis tatrapitani yamitak smarane nakalaha. Etadrishita bakripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivami dushamihajani anuraga. Krishna, Govinda, and Keshava too, your names have no end, and in each of them you have invested your potencies, leaving none out. Whenever we want, we can chant them without the slightest restriction of time or of place. O Lord, who can fathom your infinite grace? Yet I am so wretched and devoid of all shame that I haven't developed a taste for your name. So what's the formula? How can we get attraction? That's the next verse. Trinada, this is like one of the key verses in all. Trinada bisunichena, todora bisahishnana, amanina manadena, kirtaniyak sadahari. More humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, to think all praise belongs to others, none belongs to me. Such qualities attract the Lord to bless one with the power to chant His name incessantly until the final hour. Now, what should we pray for? Here he gives the next verse, what he's praying. Nadanang, nadanang, sundaring kapitam vajikadish kamaye, mama janmani janmanishware bhavadam bhakti dahoitaki twahi. Wealth and women, followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. For me, O Lord, these common goals have not the slightest worth. Let me serve you purely now and in each future birth. Then he describes more of what he prays for. Ainanda tanuji kinkadam patitam mam vashame bhavam mudhor kripayata papada pankajas tatadhulis tadasham vichintaya. Your servant for eternity, I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. O Nanda's son, please hear my plea. By your sweet grace, consider me a speck of dust upon your lotus feet forevermore. Tears streaming from my eyes, my voice choked with bliss, the hair upon my body standing up in happiness. When will all these signs of rapture decorate my limbs as I chant your holy name, the monarch of all hymns? Every moment drags on like 1,000,000 years or more. From the rain clouds of my eyes, the tears in torrents pour. This whole creation is nothing but a vast and joyless void. O Govinda, by your absence I am being destroyed. Let Madhava, let Madhava embrace this maid who's fallen at his feet, or let him trample me or my most ardent hopes defeat, by never giving me a chance to see him anywhere, thus shattering my heart and plunging me into despair. You see, he is a restless libertine and not a saint, so let him act in any way he likes without restraint, that though his cruel and crooked ways may cause me constant woe, Krishna is the only Lord my heart shall ever know. And then there's the 9th verse that I wrote. These 8 essential verses Lord Chaitanya wrote to teach the practice and the goal of chanting Krishna's holy names. Day by day, whoever sings this hymn will surely reach a little closer to perfection, spotless Krishna praying. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Oh, wow, maybe I should do that after every class. I'm sorry?
You should, that was good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll pick up there tomorrow with text 25.